All right, let's get right into it. There's a project in the crypto space that's been making a ton of noise and, causing a lot of confusion too. And that project is SUI. So, is it the next big thing, or is it just another ambitious idea that's going to fizzle out? Today, we're going to try and cut through all that hype. And that really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? Are we looking at something that could genuinely change the game for finance and digital assets? Or is this just another one of those wild, unpredictable crypto roller coasters we've all been on before? Let's take a look at what's really going on. So, to really get a handle on SUI, looking at it right now isn't enough. We have to start with where they say they're going. Let's zoom out and look at the huge, ambitious plan they've laid out for the year 2026. And what's super interesting here is the language they're using. They're not just saying, hey, we're another blockchain. No. They want to be a complete, all-in-one toolkit for developers. They call it the SUI stack. And that's a whole different level of ambition. And this isn't just fluffy talk either. Their roadmap is absolutely stacked with some potential game changers. I mean, think about it. Privacy built right into the core protocol, a native stablecoin USD SUI to keep the economy stable, and, get this, zero gas fees when you're moving that stablecoin around. They're also talking about a DeFi moonshot fund and hinting at some huge partnerships with major studios. They're painting a picture of a world that's smooth, powerful, and really easy to use. That all sounds amazing, right? Almost too good to be true. But, this is crypto. Having a great vision is one thing, but actually building it and making it work, that's a whole other battle. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Can the network, as it stands today, actually pull this off? So, let's slam the brakes on that rosy future for a second and talk about the pretty harsh reality of what's been happening lately. Because while the team was dreaming about 2026, the network right now, it had a really, really bad day. 6 hours. That's a long time in the crypto world, and that's exactly how long the SUI network just stopped working. On January 14th, the whole thing just went dark. Talk about a reality check compared to that perfect vision we just saw. For 6 hours, the engine just completely seized up. So what exactly went wrong? The official term was a consensus outage. In plain English, that means the computers that run the network, they just couldn't agree with each other anymore. And the result? Everything stopped. All transactions were halted, and the real-world impact was massive. Over $1 billion in value was just frozen solid, totally inaccessible. Okay, so you've got this huge, grand vision on one side and some pretty serious tech hiccups on the other. Now, let's bring it down to what most people actually see and feel every day. Those wild, often baffling daily price swings. Just take a look at this. It's a tale of 2 days, just 3 days apart. On March 26th, the price inches up a little bit, basically just riding Bitcoin's coattails. Normal stuff. But then, on the 29th, it drops, and it moves in the opposite direction of Bitcoin, all because of something else entirely. It's that kind of whiplash that drives investors crazy. But what do these fancy terms even mean? Let's start with that first one. A beta-driven movement sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. It's like SUI is a small boat without its own motor. It's just getting pulled along by the huge tide of the bigger market, and that tide is almost always Bitcoin. There wasn't any good news about SUI that day. It just went up because crypto went up. Okay, now for the second one, which is way more dramatic. A long liquidation cascade. This is like a series of dominoes falling. You have traders betting the price will go up. A sudden dip catches them off guard. Their positions get automatically sold off to cover their debts, which pushes the price down even more, which then triggers the next round of forced selling. It's a nasty, self-feeding downward spiral that happens inside the market itself. So you see all this, and it's easy to just throw your hands up and say, okay, this is just random crypto chaos, right? One day the market pulls it up, the next day it collapses on itself. But what if it's not random? What if there's actually a pattern hidden in all this noise? And that's where things get really interesting, and it brings us to our last section here. Some analysts are looking at this exact same volatility, this same pressure, and they're not seeing weakness at all. They're seeing the setup for something huge. They're seeing what they call the $10 question. Just listen to this quote from an analysis by Coinpedia, because it completely flips the script. This is not weakness, it's energy storage. Instead of seeing all this price struggle as a bad sign, they're arguing that it's like a spring being coiled tighter and tighter, just storing up potential energy for a massive release. So let's break down this pattern they're seeing. It's a classic technical pattern called a falling wedge. First, the price action gets squeezed into a smaller and smaller channel. Then, those huge price swings we talked about start to calm down as things tighten up. And finally, step 3, according to the theory, all that stored up energy gets released in one explosive breakout. But, and this is a big but, it's not a sure thing. For this whole theory to work, there is a very clear line in the sand, and that price is 85 cents. If SUI finishes a week of trading below that level, the pattern is probably broken, and it could mean this whole bullish idea was wrong. Now, on the flip side, what's the first big green flag we need to see? The bulls need to take back the $1.36 level. If the price can break past that resistance and hold it, that would be the first major signal that all that stored energy is about to get released to the upside. And that brings us to the final, really provocative number that analysts are throwing out there if this pattern actually plays out: $10. So the question for anyone watching SUI is pretty clear. Do you focus on the network shutdowns and the chaotic price action of today, or do you bet on that grand 2026 vision and the idea that all this pressure is just coiling a spring for a truly explosive move? That is the $10 question.